Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
WWE pointed out a subtle Roman Reigns tease during last week's episode of SmackDown. The Tribal Chief is scheduled to compete in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 41 next weekend. The promotion shared an interesting post ahead of tonight's edition of WWE SmackDown. Last week on the Blue brand, CM Punk revealed that the favor he was owed for agreeing to help Reigns and the OG Bloodline at Survivor Series 2024 was that Paul Heyman would be in his corner at WrestleMania 41. Heyman explained to Reigns that he had promised Punk that he would do it, and the head of the table was seemingly too mad to care. The company pointed out that Reigns had no interest in the wise man's words today on social media, potentially teasing that he could be planning on betraying the Hall of Famer. Not sure at where Roman Reigns really cared what Heyman Hustle had to say, grimacing face emoji. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins will be competing in a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins almost hit Heyman with a stomp this past Monday night on Raw but pulled back at the last second. The Visionary claimed that Heyman now owed him a favor for not attacking him. Stevie Richards compares WWE star to Roman Reigns. Former WWE star Stevie Richards recently compared Charlotte Flair to Roman Reigns due to the reaction she received on SmackDown. Charlotte Flair was loudly booed last week during her promo with WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton. The two stars are set for a title match at WrestleMania 41 next weekend. Speaking on the Stevie Richards Show, the veteran claimed that Flair had the same amount of heat as Reigns when he won the Men's Royal Rumble match in 2015. Richards added that Flair could become popular with fans like Reigns if she were allowed to be herself. She has the amount of heat that Roman Reigns had at that Royal Rumble where him and Rock were standing in the ring, and they were shoving that dude down everybody's throat. There's gotta be a part of Charlotte inside her that can get over in the same way Roman Reigns did when you finally let him be himself. From 412 to 433. Paul Heyman is in a difficult position heading into WrestleMania 41. It will be fascinating to see which star wins the triple threat match at the show of shows next weekend. Friday night's SmackDown was loaded with action as always, but beneath the surface, WWE planted seeds of something much bigger, and far more personal. Sharp-eyed fans may have caught the chilling signs, the beginning of a potential betrayal within the bloodline, and it's aimed right at the Tribal Chief himself, Roman Reigns. While Roman's presence was felt throughout the show, even though he wasn't physically in the building, the tension among the remaining members of the bloodline boiled under the surface. And WWE, masters of long-term storytelling, dropped subtle hints that could mark the beginning of the end for Roman's seemingly unshakable dynasty. Let's unpack exactly what happened. The opening segment, A House Divided. SmackDown kicked off with a backstage vignette showing Solo Sikoa seated at the head of the Bloodline locker room table. Notably, the very position Roman typically occupies. At first glance, it might have seemed like a simple staging decision. But in WWE, visuals matter, deeply. The camera lingered on Solo's stoic expression as Paul Heyman nervously hovered nearby. Heyman, the wise man, appeared unusually anxious, glancing toward the door as though expecting Roman to walk in at any moment and restore order. Solo, however, didn't seem concerned. His eyes were fixed straight ahead, chin raised in quiet defiance. There was an undeniable symbolism here, Solo Sikoa, the once loyal enforcer, looking every bit like a man ready to step out of the shadow of his cousin. Even more telling was Heyman's line, almost whispered but caught by the microphones, "Solo, we answer to Roman." Solo's response? Silence. And sometimes, silence screams louder than words. The match that sent a message. Later in the night, Solo faced off against LA Knight, a match that had all the makings of a typical bloodline beatdown. But things took an unexpected turn. As Solo took control, the camera cut to Heyman backstage, on a panicked phone call. "Tell the Tribal Chief, tell Roman, it's getting out of hand," Heyman stammered, pacing like a man who could feel the ground crumbling beneath his feet. That line didn't feel accidental. Heyman has always been the mouthpiece of calm within chaos, but tonight, he was sweating. Not over the match itself, but over something deeper, the sense that control was slipping. And Roman, absent from the chaos, couldn't tighten his grip from a distance. Solo's brutal tactics during the match also raised eyebrows. He didn't just aim to win, he aimed to send a message. LA Knight was left battered, but Solo wasn't satisfied until he delivered a final Samoan spike after the bell, staring straight into the hard camera. It felt personal. It felt like a statement. Notably, commentary leaned into this moment. Corey Graves remarked, "Solo Sikoa isn't waiting for orders anymore." A throwaway line? Hardly. WWE commentary, when done right, is as much a part of the story as the action in the ring. Heyman's plea, desperation sets in. The backstage saga continued later when Heyman approached the general manager, Nick Aldis. His voice, usually filled with bravado, was reduced to a pleading tone. "Where is the tribal chief's council in all this chaos?" Heyman asked, his eyes darting around like a man on the verge of collapse. Aldis, not missing a beat, responded coldly, "Looks like Solo Sikoa is handling business just fine without him." That line hit like a thunderclap. It was the subtle confirmation that even management sees the shifting tide. Solo isn't just holding things together in Roman's absence, he's thriving in it. The Bloodline's power structure is mutating, and it might soon no longer revolve around Reigns at all. The final nail, the glance at the necklace. But perhaps the most symbolic moment came in the closing seconds of SmackDown. As the camera panned backstage one final time, Solo Sikoa was shown sitting alone, holding the red lei, the symbol of the tribal chief. He turned it over in his hands, studying it with quiet intensity. For a fleeting second, a shadow of a smirk crossed his face before he set it down beside him. To the casual viewer, it was a cool shot to end the night. To longtime followers of Bloodline lore, it was an earthquake. The lei isn't just decoration. In Bloodline mythology, it represents leadership, dominance, and the weight of family legacy. Roman himself wore it when he declared himself head of the table. And here was Solo, not draping it over himself, yet, but contemplating the power it represents. The message was clear: Solo Sikoa is no longer content to be the muscle of the operation. He's thinking bigger. Much bigger. What does it all mean? If you connect the dots, WWE masterfully laid the groundwork for a major storyline pivot. Roman Reigns has reigned supreme for years, but all empires eventually crack from within. WWE seems to be orchestrating that inevitable fracture with care and patience, allowing the betrayal to simmer until it reaches its boiling point. Solo's actions, Heyman's growing desperation, management's acknowledgement of Solo's rising status, and the lingering symbolism of the lei all spell trouble for Roman. Whether this leads to an all-out mutiny or a slow erosion of Reigns' authority, the writing is on the wall, and it's written in Bloodline red. For fans craving the next evolution of the Bloodline saga, this is exactly the kind of intrigue that keeps them glued to the screen week after week. Roman's eventual return will no doubt come with fireworks, but by then, it may already be too late to reclaim his throne. WWE has long been praised for its ability to tell layered, nuanced stories, and this latest chapter proves they're still the undisputed champions of the slow burn. As SmackDown came to a close, one thing became certain: betrayal isn't coming. It's already begun. Unfortunate news for Roman Reigns fans ahead of WrestleMania 41. Roman Reigns is set to headline Night 1 of WrestleMania 41, which will mark the 10th consecutive time he will compete in the main event of the show of shows. However, there's some disappointing news for his fans as the tribal chief is nowhere to be found on the poster for Clash in Paris 2025 later this year. Reigns is set for an epic triple threat match against his arch-rivals, CM Punk and Seth Rollins, at the grandest stage of them all on April 19. Moreover, Paul Heyman leaving his side to align with Punk has added another layer of unpredictability that has only raised the stakes for the upcoming match. While Roman Reigns is a staple at big-ticket premium live events, a recent WWE announcement regarding Clash in Paris 2025 could disappoint his fans. The former Universal Champion is nowhere to be found on the show's poster, which could possibly mean he won't compete at the highly anticipated event. On a recent edition of his Off the Top podcast, Rikishi shared some important advice for Roman Reigns, saying he shouldn't bow down to anybody. The WWE legend also hinted that he could become his new Wiseman after Paul Heyman left his side to fulfill his favor to CM Punk for WrestleMania 41. Here's my take on this. Tribal Chief, let nothing steer you away from what is important to you. And you, as far as I've known you all your life, you have never bowed down to anybody, let alone this family. Don't bow down to anybody. So there is this thing called replaceable. Everything is replaceable. Do you think the Wiseman is the only Wiseman? It remains to be seen how things fare for Reigns come Mania 41, as Paul Heyman has been instrumental in his success over the last several years. As the road to WrestleMania 41 heats up, the WWE Universe has been buzzing with anticipation over what was expected to be another monumental chapter in the career of the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Yet, in an unexpected turn of events, fans were hit with unfortunate news this week. casting a shadow of uncertainty over Reigns' highly anticipated role at the grandest stage of them all. Multiple reliable sources within WWE have confirmed that Roman Reigns, who has been the cornerstone of WWE programming for nearly 4 years, is facing a significant health setback. According to insiders, Reigns recently aggravated a lingering injury during a non-televised live event, a rare appearance as he continues to embrace his part-time schedule. What seemed like a minor tweak at first has now escalated into a more serious situation, potentially jeopardizing his involvement at WrestleMania 41. Details remain closely guarded, but sources suggest that Reigns suffered a tear in his shoulder, an issue that had quietly been monitored for months. WWE's medical team reportedly advised immediate rest and rehabilitation, while also preparing contingency plans should he be unable to compete at full capacity in Las Vegas. The news couldn't come at a worse time for both Reigns and his legions of loyal fans, many of whom were eagerly awaiting his WrestleMania moment. For months, speculation had been rampant about Reigns' opponent at WrestleMania 41. Names like Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, even the ever-elusive The Rock were floated as potential challengers to his undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Reigns himself had remained characteristically stoic about the rumors, maintaining that everyone eats at the table I built. Yet, behind the scenes, WWE officials were reportedly finalizing blockbuster plans for Reigns to headline Night 2 of WrestleMania in a marquee bout that would have likely drawn record-breaking attention. With this recent development, however, those plans hang precariously in the balance. While WWE has not issued an official statement, Paul Heyman, Reigns' longtime special counsel, offered a cryptic message during a recent appearance on SmackDown. "The island of relevancy is stormy tonight, but the tribal chief's reign is not over until he says so. However, even deities must sometimes retreat to heal." Heyman's words, though in character, seem to acknowledge the severity of Reigns' situation, further fueling concerns among fans and insiders alike. Social media has since exploded with reactions. The hashtag #PrayForRoman began trending within hours of the news breaking, as fans across the globe expressed both their support and heartbreak. "WrestleMania won't be the same without Roman Reigns headlining," one fan wrote on X, formerly Twitter. "He's carried WWE for years. Wishing him a speedy recovery." Another post read, "No matter what happens, Roman's legacy is cemented. He is our tribal chief forever." The timing of this setback is especially poignant considering the larger bloodline storyline that has dominated WWE programming for years. With Jey Uso's recent rise as a solo star, Jimmy Uso's unpredictable antics, and Solo Sikoa's looming presence, all roads were seemingly leading to a climactic family showdown at WrestleMania. WWE Creative had been carefully weaving this intricate tale, positioning Roman at the heart of the saga. Now, the creative team faces the daunting task of either reshuffling the storyline or risking a less satisfying payoff if Reigns is sidelined. According to one backstage report, WWE has already begun exploring alternative scenarios. If Reigns is unable to defend his championship, there's talk of crowning an interim title holder or even fast-tracking a long-rumored Bloodline Civil War storyline to keep momentum alive. Some have speculated that Cody Rhodes could step into the spotlight once again, capitalizing on his unfinished business from WrestleMania 40. Meanwhile, other voices within WWE are advocating for Solo Sikoa to seize the moment and emerge as a dominant force in Reigns' absence. But even amid contingency plans, there's an undeniable air of disappointment. Roman Reigns is not just a champion, he's an institution. Since returning at SummerSlam 2020 and embracing his tribal chief persona, he has redefined what it means to be a top-tier WWE superstar. His character work, in-ring psychology, and sheer presence have elevated not only his own legacy but the entire WWE roster. WrestleMania 41 was expected to be a crowning jewel in his already illustrious reign, potentially solidifying him as the longest-reigning world champion of the modern era. Now, with his participation uncertain, there's an uncomfortable void where excitement once thrived. Still, hope is not lost. Those close to Reigns maintain that he is doing everything possible to expedite his recovery. Known for his resilience, both in and out of the ring, Reigns has faced adversity before, including his well-documented battle with leukemia. If anyone can turn a setback into a triumphant return, it's Roman Reigns. A source close to Reigns shared, "Roman is a fighter. He knows the magnitude of WrestleMania, and he's not giving up on that dream just yet. He's following doctor's orders, but he's also pushing himself to be ready. He understands what this moment means, not just for him, but for the entire WWE universe." As the countdown to WrestleMania 41 continues, fans will undoubtedly watch with bated breath, hoping for positive updates on their tribal chief. Whether he walks down the aisle at Allegiant Stadium as the reigning champion or not, one thing remains clear: Roman Reigns has already left an indelible mark on the world of professional wrestling. His absence, however temporary, will be deeply felt. For now, the WWE Universe stands united in support of their champion, eagerly awaiting the day when Roman Reigns can once again raise his title high and declare, with undeniable authority, that he is still the head of the table.